So throughout scripture, you occasionally come across different verses that might be a little bit weird. Oftentimes it's just a matter of missing some historical or cultural context, but other times there's something that maybe requires a little bit more explanation. One such verse might be Jude chapter 1 verse 9. Here it mentions a dispute between the archangel Michael and Satan over Moses' body. So yeah, a little weird. So what is the significance of this passage? Why was Satan trying to get a hold of Moses' body? And what does the Bible have to say? Let's take a look.
Attention, bargain shoppers.
Okay, so what did the devil want with the body of Moses? Let's take a look at Jude 1:9. But even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not himself dare to condemn him for slander, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." And scripture does mention other struggles in the spiritual realm. We're told in the book of Daniel where he describes a vision where an angel named Gabriel comes to him. And Gabriel tells Daniel that he was delayed due to resistance from a demon called the Prince of Persia. And he was delayed until the archangel Michael came to assist. But this verse here in Jude is very unique in the sense that it gives us a little glimpse into some more detail about what's going on in the spiritual realm. In this case, we specifically see a fight or a dispute over the body of Moses, which is interesting because we're actually told earlier in scripture that God himself buried Moses' body. If we look at Deuteronomy 34 verses 5 through 6, we're told, "And Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him in Moab in the valley opposite Beth Peor. But to this day, no one knows where his grave is." Now, it's important to remember that Moses was one of the key biblical figures. He was just a hero of the Jewish faith. When it comes to important biblical figures, we're looking at basically Jesus, Moses, and Abraham. This is part of why it's so meaningful that the three of them appear together during the transfiguration on the top of the mountain. And as Christians in the future, we know that Christ is the most important of those three. Christ is the Son of God. He's God's right hand. But to a lot of the ancient Israelites, especially before Christ's arrival, Moses was the big one. So one theory around this verse revolves around Israel's past with idolatry. The Israelites have oftentimes in the past worshipped false gods and idols. They exonerate their heroes. They may have been tempted to venerate Moses beyond what God's intention was, more than just a man or a servant of God. But this is something Satan could have used to exploit. He might have tried to turn Moses' grave into a shrine, distracting Israel from their true covenant with God. However, there's another theory that Satan may have wanted to use Moses' body to take glory away from Christ. If we look at Deuteronomy 18:15, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him." So in the future, we know this to be Jesus. But at the time, the Israelites were expecting a Moses-like figure, a mediator, a lawgiver, and a deliverer. It's thought that maybe Satan intended to present Moses as a rival figure, reanimating his message in a way that would have conflicted with the messianic expectation. So I don't know if this was ever Satan's intention or even if it's within his power, but it would have been weird for sure if he had resurrected Moses, or even more messed up if he reanimated him in like a sort of zombie-like way. But I think this was never really on the table. Satan doesn't have the will and probably not even the power to do this. Satan doesn't bring things back to life. Satan destroys. He is about death and destruction. If we look at Hebrews 2:14, "Since the children have flesh and blood, he too shared in their humanity, so that by his death he might break the power of him who holds the power of death, that is, the devil." It's more likely that if he was able to possess Moses' body, that he would have defiled it in some way or undermined the sanctity of God or people's hope in the bodily resurrection. When it comes to the motives of Satan, we're really left to just speculate. Even with God's plan, we know parts of his redemptive strategy, but we don't know the whole thing. Some of it is hidden from us. But it is noteworthy here that in this passage in Jude, it's not really meant to teach about the spiritual realm. It's more of just an example example to help illustrate the author's true teaching. The point the author is really making is about false teachers and ungodly people who have worked their way into the church. He's describing their immoral character and contrasting their behavior with the righteous judgment of God. In the earlier verse in Jude 1:8, we're told, in the very same way, on the strength of their dreams, these ungodly people pollute their own bodies, reject authority, and heap abuse on celestial beings. He goes on to say that even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, he did not himself condemn Satan for slander. The angel Michael did not take it upon himself to start a fight or be accusatory towards Satan. Even though he was in the right, even though he was carrying out God's will, he chose instead to defer to God instead of taking action himself. So as much fun as it is to speculate, the truth in this passage is really twofold. Number one, despite Satan's best efforts, God's plan still prevails. Moses' body remained under God's sovereign care. And number two, God is the ultimate judge. It's not for us to be the judge. It's not for us to fight his battles for him. Just like the archangel Michael, we are merely servants. So it is our place to carry out God's will, not to go pick our own fights and battles. But I'd love to hear what you have to say. Did I miss any theories that you think could explain this verse? If so, I'd love to hear in the comments below. Also, feel free to like and subscribe. It does help out the channel. I'll leave the verses used today in the description. My name is Adam. This is Bargain Bin Theology. And remember, you get what you pay for.